Real Country 1430 AM and 107.3 FM WRDN. Good Monday morning. I'm Brian Winnekins, and all this week we are going to be featuring the Steyer family and Alfalawn Farms with Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin. And we're going to kick things off this week to find out a little bit about Alfalawn Farms. Dave Steyer joins us. And Dave, good morning. Thanks for having us today. Well, give us a little history of Alfalawn Farms.
Good morning, Brian. Happy to have you out today. Alfalawn Farm is we're actually fifth generation. If you go way back to the 1860s when our great-great-grandfather first settled in this area. But right now, my father took over in the late 1950s, and then my two brothers and myself kind of took over in the 80s. And so currently we're milking a little over 2,200 cows, run just under 4,000 acres of cropland, and happy to have a lot of family involved on the dairy and chugging along.
Including the German Shepherds that you hear in the background too. They're also part of the farm. So growing up here, obviously it was a lot smaller, but what was it like?
Well, I think I used to talk to my dad about what things were like when they were young farming and the amount of physical work and Dad, he said it was a ton of work. When you think back of the threshing crews and everything was manual back then, but they didn't have quite the scope that we had even in the 80s, 70s and 80s. I know my dad had us milking 90-some cows in the mid-70s already in a tie stall barn. And so as we continued to grow, we found that we had tie stall barns, and so we were doing a lot of manual labor. And so we had 7 people doing chores twice a day, everything from sweeping the grates to liming the walkways to bedding the stalls to carting the feed around the barns and pitching the alleys out by hand and all that stuff. So it was just a ton of really intense manual labor. And so in the late 1990s, we started transitioning to a freestall barn setup. We built our first 400-cow freestall barn, sand bedded, which was our first kind of dive into the sand bedding portion of it. And then we milked them in a double 12 parallel parlor. And so we went from doing chores with 7 people twice a day in 2 different barns to basically down to 3 people doing chores twice a day with probably twice as many cows. And so it was, from a labor standpoint, a lot more efficient that way. And then things have kind of grown from there. So.
And as things have grown, obviously you don't just have 3 people now. You have quite the crew.
Yep. Currently, we're right around about 35 employees, and included in some of that number is around 15 family members that work on the farm. We're very happy to have a lot of family involved. We have my wife and I actually have 4 kids. 2 of them are very interested in working on the dairy and being involved with it, and so that's from our standpoint really satisfying. I don't think we'd be milking 2,200 cows now if we didn't have the family involvement that we have and the interest in the family in coming back.
So did your dad ever, say, geez, when I was a kid, we had to milk cows uphill both ways in a blinding snow. You have it so easy with the parlor and all of the new stuff.
Dad and I had that conversation different times, and my comment to Dad was things must have been a lot harder back when he was young, and he would talk about the physical labor side of it, but he actually felt from what we went through and with the number of cows on different farms that we had more work than he had back when he was young. Different kind of work, it's nowadays I think there's a lot more mental stress on farmers as far as trying to make ends meet and things like that. There was a time in the 70s when Dad said you could buy a silo and pay it off in a few years, and things actually worked pretty decent. But nowadays it's a lot of investing, and it takes years to see the return on your investment. So.
And the other side of this as well, the other part of this that you have to do is you have all kinds of data coming in from the herd and this and that, and you have to always monitor that like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah, it really has grown to be something. I think if when we bring tours in and we talk to them about the level of data that we have and how we harness that data, the different systems that we have on the farm, everything from our cow management software to our activity systems on the cows to even something as simple as QuickBooks program, but it's very in-depth for the farm, the different enterprises and things that we run through that, and then the tax stuff, everything from payroll to, doing tax weekly on different things and monthly filings, quarterly filings, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot involved to it. And so I think from the standpoint of the average person, when they realize what it all entails and how much goes into the data collection aspect of it, they're really, really surprised. And I think almost to a person, they have no idea the level of sophistication and that's involved in a modern dairy farm. So.
And then we're looking at you have the veterinarians that stop by, you have the nutritionists, and every single cow on the farm has their own little RFID tag, and it's telling you everything, and you have to watch that too. I mean, how do you do it without getting overwhelmed?
Well, we have a lot of systems in place, and people have their areas of responsibility that they're responsible for, and so we've gotten very good over the years at delegating, at giving people roles, responsibilities, and then holding them accountable to take care of their area of expertise. And so, a lot of meetings with employees and things like that, not necessarily structured team meetings. We don't do that as much as we do just one-on-one, kind of like, hey, let's get together and talk about this type of deal, or here's what we're seeing right now, what are you guys seeing, or we're having this issue. What do you guys think? How can we correct this problem and move forward? So,
we are talking with Dave Steyer this morning as we highlight the Steyer family and Alfalawn Farms all this week with Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin tomorrow. Karen's going to join us. She's going to talk about the calves and the newborns and how the farm takes care of them. We're going to do that tomorrow morning. Again, thank you to Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin. You're listening to WRDN.